6 of the best sales analogies that helped me make $1 million in straight commission selling at 12% by the age of 18. In today's videos, I'm gonna go over the 6 analogies, the only ones you really need. I'm gonna tell you the best ones I have and kind of the okay ones you have. Okay, first of all, what is the point of an analogy? The whole point of an analogy when you're in a sales call is to deliver a point. Analogies aren't something you use to replace questions. Analogies are something you use to get better answers to your questions or to deliver a point. And so I'm gonna give you some examples of this, that way it makes a little bit more sense to you. Number one analogy that I really like using is usually gonna be somewhere in emotional certainty when you're gonna go into your line of questioning as a salesperson, where you go into, hey man, you achieving desired outcome, what does it allow you to do? What does it do for you personally? What if you don't? Okay, so in that section, this is an analogy. I call it the Usain Bolt analogy. Okay, what this goes is before you go into the section where you're trying to get your prospect to describe what it allows them to do by achieving the desired outcome, a way you can pre-frame it is, hey man, have you ever heard of the Usain Bolt analogy? And they're like, yes, no, usually they're gonna say no. You're like, okay, cool man. The way it is if I put Usain Bolt on a running line and I put a golden medal in front of him and I tell him to run, he's gonna run really fast. But if I put a line behind him, he's gonna run a lot faster because there's a big enough reason of why he needs to get there, and then there's a big enough consequence if he doesn't. So for you to achieve XYZ result, the same way, there has to be a big enough reason and a golden medal of why we're running, and then there has to be a big enough consequence in a line that's causing you to actually get it done. So for you, man, achieving XYZ result, what does that allow you to do? What's your golden medal? And then when you go into your consequence questions, you're gonna be like, okay, sweet man, so you have a golden medal. What's your line now? What happens if you don't? That's a very simple analogy that takes 20 seconds. The shorter your analogies are, usually the better. If they take you like 50 minutes to go over, you're probably fucking something up. Now, a second one you can use is the ice cream truck analogy. And again, going back to the principle of analogies are only used to make your questions land better. Okay, so most of you probably have a hard time landing those emotional based questions of what it allows them to do, what if they don't, things of that nature, right? Those are more uncomfortable questions. So another analogy is called the ice cream truck analogy. And the same way you use the Usain Bolt, this is another version of that, where it's like, before you go into the desired outcome of what it allows them, you say something like this. Hey man, okay, so tell me one thing, right? You know, to achieve big things in life, there have to be sort of big reasons you do them. Would you agree? Yes. Okay, so kind of the example I can give to you, man, is like, can you picture in your mind like a little fat chubby kid kind of like running towards an ice cream truck, right? Like he's huffing and puffing, but he really wants the ice cream. Okay, perfect. Now, if I take that same kid and I put him in a burning building, he's gonna run, but there's 2 different types of runnings, clearly. They're still both running, 2 different types. Now, is he gonna run faster because of the ice cream truck, or is he gonna run faster because of the burning building? Burning building, okay, yeah, but why though? Well, because there's a consequence and if he's gonna die. Exactly, right, man? And so it's the same way where like, if you're gonna achieve XYZ goal, you have to have an ice cream truck, something that is like a bit of pleasure that you're running towards. But then if you don't achieve it, there has to be a burning building that causes you to actually get the job done, because you achieving XYZ result, losing the 60 pounds, tripling your business, it's not gonna happen through just having an ice cream truck, otherwise you would have already got there. So tell me, man, start off with this. What's the ice cream truck? What are you running after by achieving the 60-pound weight loss goal by tripling your business? Okay, now tell me the burning building, man. What happens if you don't? Okay, so that's the second analogy you can use. The ice cream truck analogy works really well if you know how to say it. Third analogy. The third analogy I use, and this is an analogy I use in objection handling, it's called the island reframe, okay? This is probably one of my favorite analogies or reframes that I've ever used, and it goes something like this, okay? Let's say a prospect gives you an objection. I want to think about it, I need to speak to my spouse, whatever the case might be. This is the verbiage of it, and I'll explain to you why this reframe works really well. When most people are in fear, and they don't understand why they're afraid, and they don't actually know like what's causing that, you have to give them something they can picture that makes sense. And so I'm going to say the analogy to you, and then I sort of want you to mentally process it, and then I'll explain why it works the way it does. So somebody gives you an objection, think about it, partner, money, doesn't matter. It's like, hey man, okay, that makes sense because we all make decisions based on our perspective, right? Yes, but the tough thing, man, the very tough thing is being able to make decisions based on where you want to go and not where you are. Because if I continue making decisions based on where I am, it's the only place I end up. Right, I'll give you an example. It's kind of like being on an island. If I'm on an island and I'm surrounded by 17.1 miles of just water, so every decision I make as an individual is based on the fact that I'm on an island with 17 miles of water with limited resources. That's fair. But if my goal now is to get on top of a mountain, because if I'm on top of a mountain, I got a different perspective, bro. But how do I as an individual get off this island to this mountain when I don't know it's there, but I don't know how to get there? There are 3 steps I gotta take. The first step, man, is I gotta believe there's a mountain actually there. So do you believe achieving the 60-pound weight loss goal, tripling your business, having a good relationship with your spouse, do you believe that's possible? Okay, great. Yeah, you do. You don't see the mountain, but you know it's there. Second step I gotta do is I gotta strap on the shoes. You've done that. You've hopped on the call today, we've made a plan, you've strapped on the shoes. But now the third step, man, which is the hardest fucking step, is you just have to start swimming. Because you can spend another 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years around this island, man, the view's not gonna change. North, south, east, west, the water's still gonna be the water. And so it isn't until I start taking actions based on where I wanna go that I actually get there. And the fact is, man, you might start swimming and you might drown. That's the reality. But it's better than being like every other dickhead that stays on that island hoping for a different view. So what do you feel like you have to do to put yourself in the best position possible to get off this island to that mountain so you can have the perspective you need to have, not that you want to have? What actions have to be taken for that? Okay, and so why this analogy works really well is because everybody can picture themselves when they're in fear on this island. They have limited resources, lack of money, whatever it might be to purchase your product or service, but they want to get to the desired outcome, which in this situation is going to be the mountain. And it's very tough because they don't actually see the result. They don't know if it's going to happen. There's a level of uncertainty, but they know they want to get to that mountain. And so this analogy is very good where it's like they're on the island, they can envision the limited resources, but they want to get to the mountain, but they have limited resources and they don't know how they're going to get there. But logically, if you're on an island, on a deserted island, and you want to get to a mountain or you want to get off that island, there's 3 steps. You got to believe something's out there, you got to strap on the shoes, and you got to start fucking swimming. That's all you can do, and that's pretty much all your prospect can do to get the outcome they want. Okay, analogy number 4. Analogy number 4 is what I call the girlfriend analogy. The way the girlfriend analogy goes is this. Somebody tells you, hey man, I'm afraid, or hey man, I'm afraid of failure, which is total horse shit because failure is always a chance. And so when somebody tells me like, hey man, I've tried things in the past and they haven't worked, I'm like, sweet bro. So is the whole world. And so let me give you an example, dude. Do you have a wife, a girlfriend? Yes, no, maybe so, doesn't matter. Okay, great. Have you had a partner in the past that wasn't your wife or that you didn't get married to? Great. So the first time you got broken up with or you broke up with somebody, did you say, I quit, I'm gonna be the virgin the rest of my life, or did you keep going? I kept going. Okay, but why though? Okay, sweet. So the same way you didn't give up on love, even though getting heartbroken is probably the biggest heartache any man or woman can go through, why would you give up on your goals? And then you wait. And then you pause. And usually prospects will be like, well, I don't know if it's the same thing. No, it is the same thing, dude. Because there's a lot of pleasure that comes out of having a good relationship. There's also a lot of pain. So there's a lot of pleasure that comes out of having this XYZ goal of losing the weight, tripling the business, XYZ. There's also a lot of pain. But if you notice the common element, if you have big goals, there's a lot of pain. So let me ask you, again, if you didn't give up on having a partner or a spouse in your life, why would you give up on your goals and dreams in life? Analogy number 4. Now, analogy number 5, this is some dark art you're about to learn here. It's called 4,000 dots, okay? And I'm gonna say this analogy to you. This is a very deep analogy. This works really well on emotional-based offers, right? That are not like money-making offers, but you can kind of use this anywhere if you know how to do it correctly, okay? And here's how it goes. In objection handling, somebody tells you, I wanna think about it. You've looped them frame after frame, but they're still not buying. What do you say? Okay, man, like, let me give you this example. I have a calendar in my room, and it has about 4,000 dots on it. Do you know what those dots represent? No, yes. Okay, each dot, so according to a scientist, man, when they did a study, an average human lives for about 4,000 weeks. That's an average human being across the whole world. And so I have a calendar that has 4,000 dots, and every time a week passes, I go up to the calendar and I circle in a dot. So there are 4,000 like open circles, little circles, and I circle one in. And that does 2 things for me. Number 1 is I realize how much time I actually have left, and the second thing I realize is what am I actually gonna do with the time I have left? And so right now, man, you said 40, right? And so if you have 4,000 dots, 2,000 of them are gone. Hate to break it to you. Out of 2,000 dots, another 750, a third of your life is going to go to sleeping. So 2,000 minus 750, you're at 1,250. Out of 1,250, another 250 are going to be gone away in eating, sleeping, shitting, just basic human, which pretty much leaves you with 1,000 dots, man. And that's it. And then life is done. How many dots have you filled in knowing you're not where you want to be, but not taking the actions to get to where you want to go? Because what happens if you continue to fill in these dots, man, knowing you're not taking the actions to make these dots worth it? What happens then? Okay, man. So at the end of the day, the question is this. How many more dots do you want to continue filling in knowing you're not where you want to be, but not taking the actions to get to where you want to go? Well, I don't want to let that happen, or I don't want it to happen much longer. Okay, so what do you feel like we should do in this moment to make sure that every dot in the last 1,000 we have actually count? Now, obviously, I've said this in 30 seconds. In an actual sales call, you're going to want to take 2 to 3 minutes, okay? And if you want to see the full version of the sales call, comment down below this YouTube video. I have a free course where I go into depth, and you can actually see me on sales calls using these analogies. Analogy number 6 is going to be the what's riskier frame. This is something that works really well. I think any salesperson, smart, stupid, new, old, doesn't matter, you guys can use this. And pretty much it's giving people a binary option where you go, hey man, in objection handling, what's riskier? Is it riskier you get the funding, we train you, and you're able to achieve X, Y, and Z? Or is it riskier you don't do anything, you continue with X problem, nothing changes, and you stay exactly the same? What do you feel in reality is riskier between these two? And that's kind of the hand motion you have. And then usually they're gonna be like, well, obviously, man, it's riskier if I don't do anything. Well, hey man, it's not very obvious. Why is that riskier for you personally though? Well, because if I don't change, then XYZ happens. Okay, and what happens if things continue not to change? Well, then I never get to my goal. So what do you feel like we should do then to make sure you're in the best position to get to the goals, to make sure that you actually get to where you wanna go? If you want access to more in-depth sales training, whether you're a salesperson, a manager, or a CEO, down below in the description, there's going to be a link where you can sign up for my free course where I give you a whole hour of in-depth sales training of how I was able to make 7 figures in straight commission selling.